Welcome. Welcome to, welcome to the Flying Star Cafe. This is I guess that's Delores Cannon said it's appropriate for this discussion because we're going off to the Flying Stars today. This is really an all-star cast of UFO researchers that have not been assembled hardly anywhere. I'm Alan Steinfeld for Newrealities, and I'm very happy to be here because the film, The Hidden Hand, that James Carman did was sort of an introduction. It was a 101 to UFO research and technologies and ETs. And here we're going to go a lot deeper with some of these, with the people here who put their lives into this investigation. I mean, they have been dedicated themselves and their research to a level of consciousness that the world is still awakening to. And we're going to put them a little further in today here in this quiet town in New Mexico, where it all began. What was it, 66 years ago on Route 66. Isn't that perfect? Here we are on Route 66 at the Albuquerque Film and Media Experience, which is called the Route 66 Experience. So let me just introduce to you who's here with us today. We have Clifford Stone. Yes. His work and his own contact with ETs is very important to understanding this next level of reality that people are about to embrace. We have Charles Hall, who he knows a lot about Area 51, Area 52, ET contact, his own personal contact, so we're going to go a lot deeper into what the ET consciousness is all about. And then we have Delores Cannon, yes, who 25 years of research, interviews, case witnesses, her own study, her own spiritual investigations into really what's going on with ETs, UFOs, and higher dimensional integration of who we are as human beings. I think that's really important to understand, that it's not just flying saucers, ships in the sky, it's about who we are. And that's key. We need to evolve ourselves as human beings if we're going to meet these beings that are coming here. We have Moulton Howe, yes. Her Emmy Award-winning producer, her cattle mutilation documentaries were landmark in understanding some of the strange happenings, strange harvests that are going on around UFOs, ETs. Her work is featured every month on Coast to Coast, and it's so important what Linda has done on Earth Files because she is out there all the time, really at the cutting edge of what's happening in this world and trying to bring it to people because we need to wake up. Thank you, Linda, for being here. We have Lyn Buchanan, yes, whose work with remote viewing, his own ET contact, his understanding of consciousness in general has added a huge scope to the field of UFO investigations. Thanks for being here. And we have Richard J. Hoagland, G. Hoagland, of the Enterprise mission. He is also featured prominently on Coast to Coast Radio, his work on the Mars, his torsion fields investigation, his understanding of technologies, and what we're doing to evolve our own consciousness to this next level of understanding is so important in our own evolution. Thank you, Richard, for being here. And we have the filmmaker, James Carman. And James has put 3 or 4 years into investigation and a lifetime of study into understanding the UFO situation in making that film. So we're going to go a little deeper today. And the first question I'd like to throw out to the panelists here is this understanding of not just ETs, but what is it about consciousness? How do we have to shift if we're going to meet the other? Because in a sense they're us and they're not us. So let me just start with Clifford Stone and see his own, talk about his own contact with ETs, and what is it about human beings that we have to change?
Well, I think that we have to go ahead and...
Want to stand up and talk? Yes.
There.
And why don't you just take that mic to, just stand up so people can see you.
Those of you who don't know me, I'm Clifford Stone. But no, I think that we have to actually grow more spiritually, and I'm not talking about religion here. Yeah, I'm a religious person, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about our interaction, our concerns for others, our concerns for the betterment of the world around us, the betterment of the world as a whole. And I also believe that governments are trying to push towards disclosing, but I'll tell you right now, the British government in 2010 had a group of scientists get together and they were asked, what impact do you think would have should it be acknowledged that we have just radio signals from a highly evolved intelligence race from out in space? What impact do you think that will have on the world as a whole? Do you know we don't know an answer to that? We do not know what impact it will have on people in general. We're not sure whether they could accept it. So that question remains open, even though most of us within ourselves believe we can answer it, that we can accept it. It's not going to change us any shape, form, or fashion. But I want to get that point across, but at the same time, I want to tell you before we can go out there, we are going to have to go ahead and become much more spiritually inclined as far as our interactions with one another. And if that doesn't happen, we're not going out there. And I don't really know what the answer is as to possible high births being developed by our visitors. But one thing I want to go ahead and throw out at you is, what if we don't change spiritually? What if we can't begin to solve our problems differently? What if we wind up destroying ourselves? And ladies and gentlemen, we're not out of the woods yet. The whole situation is, the world is a very dangerous place. So what if we destroy ourselves? Has our visitors already decided they are going to make the decision for us? Is that the reason for the high births? That if we wind up destroying ourselves, they're going to go ahead and say, okay, let's do it all over again. Let's see if we get it right this time. That's all I have to say at this time.
We'll come back to you. Thank you, Clifford. Yes. So, Charles, in your contact with ETs, what do you feel we have to do as human beings in order for contact to be brought more into the open?
Hello. I hope you can hear me back there.
Talk to the audience.
Okay. I hope you can hear. I hope you can hear me back.
No, it's the mic is for the camera, so just project to the
okay.
chin.
I hope you can hear me back there now. Yeah. I'm Charles James Hall. I'm the author of the 5-book series, Millennial Hospitality. I'm a Vietnam vet, and back in 1965 and 66, I was a weather observer for the U.S. Air Force, an enlisted man, and I was stationed for 2.5 years at Nellis Air Force Base, Nevada, and most of that time I spent as the duty weather observer out in the gunnery ranges at Indian Springs, which are the back door to Area 51. And I found back then that at the north end of Indian Springs Valley, the U.S. Air Force had a secret base for extraterrestrials. It's actually inside Area 53 and 54, which is inside the Area 51 perimeter, and it was the original dreamland. During my time, I spent many TDYs, including 2 in the area of the Grays, which is over in Area 52 and Area 57. I had a special clearance that allowed me to go anywhere I wanted, day or night, as long as I went alone. And that's what I'm discussing in my books. I'm very religious, and back then I was too. I was single. I'm Roman Catholic. And the tall whites, I've personally stood in front of 3 different types of extraterrestrials. The ones I call the tall whites, for which the base at the north end of Indian Springs was built by the U.S. Air Force. And I've also been in front of the grays over in Area 52 and Area 55. And I've also been in front of the ones I call the Norwegians with 24 teeth. In Book 5, I describe what I believe happened at Roswell. Roswell had 3 craft, and they had children on board. The difference between those 3 races are they all have men, women, and children. They're all flesh and blood creatures. They all love within the race. The mothers and fathers love the children. You know, like, the tall white mothers, when you would come up to them, they might reasonably start the conversation by asking me, do I understand that they love their children more than human mothers love their children? Or in other words, don't touch my kid or I'll kill you, right? Yeah, and if they didn't start the conversation that way, I would, you know, for my own defense, to reassure them that I wasn't going to touch the kids, you see. The grays, within each other, also the parents love the children. The Norwegians with 24 teeth, who come here from a planet orbiting either Bernard's star at 5.5 light years or the next star out, for Wolf 579, are the same way. They're just like us. Now the grays, however, the gray adults cannot breathe our air without a breathing device. That breathing device looks like a surgical mask. The teenagers and the children can breathe our air. And therefore, there's a bit difference between the gray parents interact with their children and the way the white parents interact with theirs and the Norwegians interact with theirs. The tall white adults are able to breathe our air. So whenever you would see them, they would come out as family groups. They would come out, the children, you'd never see the young children alone. And the Norwegians with 24 teeth are just like us. But the grays, because the children can breathe our air and the teenagers can still breathe our air, but the gray adults cannot, the children would go out in their own spacecraft. That's what Roswell was, one of the playgroups, which is always at least 3 gray craft together. One of them suffered a coil meltdown because that's their propulsion system and crashed out in the mountains of New Mexico, on western New Mexico, and during the search process 2 more were sent. And
we'll get back to Roswell,
okay?
but that's
yeah. The aliens, if okay.
No, we'll get back to Roswell. No, and we'll get back to the. Thank you. Thank you. No, okay. So. I'm going to ask Delores Cannon to describe her overview of these ET realities. Please, Delores.
Okay. Let's see if we can get this to work. Can you hear me okay?
No, it's just for the mic. You have to just for the camera.
Okay. I usually don't have any problems projecting anyway. Okay, but I'm a hypnotherapist, and I've been working in hypnotherapy for 45 years. But I've been working with the UFO phenomena for 25 years. So I've done hundreds of cases, and this is where I come up with all my evidence that I've written about. I've written 4 books on the UFO phenomena. And there's so much bigger than you can ever imagine. There's so much more parts to it that we haven't even explored, and especially the government doesn't want us to know these things. But I will tell you, the ETs are afraid of us, our violence. They don't understand it. Why do we hurt each other? Why do we kill each other? They're afraid of us. That's one reason they don't want to have direct contact with us. They'd rather stay away from us. But, you know, with the hypnosis I've found, they have said the ideal situation would be that the person wouldn't remember anything after they have had a contact, because they don't want to disrupt the person's life. But they cannot control the pollutants in the air, the additives in the food. If you're on drugs of any kind, or if you're an alcoholic, that affects the chemistry of the brain. so that when the person does a hypnotic session, they're going to get a distorted version because the person is in fear, and that fear colors what they remember. And it's a distorted version of what really happened. That's why with my method I can go deeper and get the real truth. It's not at all what they remember. That's the difference.
Why are they here? Why are these ETs here, some of them?
They've been here since the beginning of time.
Okay.
Okay. They've been here since the beginning of time. They created us. And in one session they said, why do people think we're here to take over the world? It's ours, it always has been. We can't hurt you any more than you hurt yourself. But they're here as watchers to make sure that we're not going to blow ourselves up, that we're not going to get to that point. They've been taking care of us since the beginning. That's what it's all about. That's what the implants are for, to watch us and see how we are adapting to these pollutants. They're very concerned about the increase in cancer. That's what the abductions, if you want to call them, are checking people to see how their bodies are reacting, how they're adapting to the energies that we're going. Our energies are changing, and that's what the machines are for, to adapt with that. It's a whole lot more to it. But anyway, if you're going to have a lot of questions, I know.
Okay. Yeah, we are going to take questions from the audience after we kind of go through.
Overview.
Okay, well, thank you. And we might not get agreement among everyone on the panel, but I think a wider view of different opinions is very important. And I know Linda has a lot of ideas and opinions, and she just appeared in front of former members of Congress to talk about open disclosure. So thank you for being here, Linda.
Thank you very much. The animal mutilations are the flip side of the human abduction syndrome. And they're asking me to come up a little further. And when you, yes, I'll try. If the animal mutilations are the flip side of the coin of human abductions, and the bottom line is genetic harvest and genetic manipulation, it always reminds me of my first reaction to seeing that government document here in Albuquerque at Kirtland Air Force Base on April 9th, 1983, when I was working on the home box office special that we were going to do, going beyond my TV special, A Strange Harvest, about animal mutilations. And in that document it said, it was a direct quote, I have never forgotten it, these were the words, extraterrestrial biological entities have manipulated DNA in already evolving primates to create Homo sapien. And I remember how shocked I was then at reading the sentence. And as I stand here today, having seen James Carman's very fine film, The Hidden Hand, the title itself is part of what I have come to feel as a journalist and a documentary filmmaker is one of the things that makes me so nervous. If we have non-humans who made a series of standing up primates, of which we are the recent model, then they are responsible for everything that we are, including our violent natures. What is it in this current model of Homo sapiens sapien that extraterrestrial biological entity intelligences work so hard to create and then hide behind the scenes as the government hides behind the scenes? So we have at least two hidden hands. Are they competing? Are they allied? How many of the non-human hidden hands are competing or allied? And clearly right now the government of the United States is finally being stripped bare a little bit about how it has lied since at least World War II about something so fundamental, that we're not alone in this universe and we never have been. And I would agree with Delores that everything I've been exposed to in military and intel is one statement. It comes down to this from a man who retired from the Defense Intelligence Agency. He said, Linda, we are convinced that at least 3 types of non-humans have been terraforming this planet for more than 270 million years. And I remember saying to him, you're talking about before the time of the dinosaurs. And his answer was also written in that document that I was shown at Kirtland on April 9th, 1983. The extraterrestrial biological entities also made the dinosaurs for a long period of time of terraforming and genetic manipulation. We know how long the dinosaurs were on this planet. Those of us in this room who are roly-poly Homo sapiens sapien have only been on this planet for 35,000 years. Who are we to the three competing groups that have been here for more than 270 million years? That is what I would like to know. Thank you.
You said, wait, let me just get that last, you said, who are we to
them,
to,
those
who are we to them?
manipulated the DNA and
Who are we as human beings to them?
well, if we're the latest model,
yes.
and there have been 37 other models
Yeah.
of standing up primates, plus if you go back 270 million years,
Yeah.
and if we're dealing with those that genetically made the dinosaurs,
Yes.
and they're terraforming this planet, what are we now, this current model,
Okay.
to that which has been here for at least 270 million years, not even in alliance with other intelligence?
I think Lyn Buchanan has the answer to that. No, but I do think it has to do with who we are as spiritual conscious beings. You mind standing
Okay.
up and addressing some of that?
All right. I think the original question was, how do we have to change our thinking?
That's part of it. In order to meet these beings on an even playing field, to find out who we are. Who they
Let me
are.
tell you, in the remote viewing field, one of the things we do is get into people's minds. There are presidential orders against doing that to American citizens, but if you're not from the U.S., you're fair game. I think the answer probably could be shown by an anecdote, that old war story that happened to me. We were on this mission in a about a fourth world country, and the people there in this one little village had seen Americans before, no big deal. But they heard that a Texan was coming to town, and so there they came in. They identified me as the Texan. The little kids ran up saying, John Wayne, and so I put on a little show. We made a little cowboy hat, and I called him partner and all that, and kind of swaggered a little. And we went on our way to the rest of the mission. We came back through that town again, and maybe a handful of people came out to see us. They had seen a Texan before, okay? Their thinking was changed. I think the answer to your question is that our thinking is in the process of changing, and for many people it's already changed. So what's left? Get up and go see, okay? Put it into action. I think that's what's left in our thinking, is that we believe there's nothing we can do about it. We're wrong. We believe that it's a bigger thing than we can handle. We're wrong, okay? Get up and do something about it.
What
That's
do
the
you
answer.
suggest we do?
One, don't let government do what it's doing, okay? Another anecdote, I was up at DIA one time, and I walked in, and these guys were having a discussion about control of the internet. And they were saying that there's so much pornography and everything else. And finally, I chimed in and I said, yeah, there's pornography and all that, but the internet has to be free. And one of the guys turned around to me, he was an analyst, and he said, hell with that. He said, I go home and my kids know more about what's going on in the world than I do, and I'm the professional. He said, I want control of the internet. And he said, my job's at risk. And so I think what we have to do is get up and make ourselves known. We're a democracy. Democracy means people. Let's do something, okay? Get up, make your voice known. Demand disclosure, demand information. That's my thinking.
Okay, Richard, you really cover the gamut, and you've done research. He's worked for NASA. How can we push the hidden hand towards disclosure or something along those lines?
Well, first of all, it's nice speaking in a small room. I haven't done something like this since off-Broadway, off-Broadway plays. How we get control goes to the heart of the political process. And I think Lyn put his finger on it. The internet is the key.